Hei alle sammen, og velkommen til dagens webinar. Jeg håper dere alle våkne og klare for litt ny og spennende informasjon. I dag så vil temaet omhandle Wave, bredbåndsradio. I dag så vil vi få litt informasjon om hvordan vi kan bruke dette som et enkeltstående system, og hvordan det integreres i eventuelt eksisterende radiosystem som i dag. Litt om dagens webinar og løsning. Mikrofonen til alle deltakere deaktiverte. Du kan stille spørsmål i feltet for spørsmål og svar. Dagens webinar vil bli holdt på engelsk, men spørsmål vil gjerne komme inn på norsk. Kvaliteten kan endres dersom du opplever at kvaliteten på dagens webinar litt stagnato, eller at du har litt hakkete sending. Vi gjør også oppmerksom på at det blir gjort opptak av webinaret for egen evaluering, og det blir senere lagt ut i våre kanaler. Så det godt å legge merke til at livesendingen har en forsinkelse på ca. 20 sekunder, så det kan nok ta litt tid før du får svar på de spørsmål. Litt om Norsk. Vi etablert i 1998, og et heleid norsk selskap. Vi Motorola Platinum-partner, og en løsningsorientert leverandør. Vi har i dag en egen stor teknisk avdeling, hvor vi former og setter opp alle løsninger. Vi selvfinansierende og har en sunn forretningsdrift. Per i dag så vi 10 ansatte. I dag vi så heldige at vi har Dan Faulkner fra Motorola med oss, som skal forklare litt om dette rundt Wave og bredbåndsradio. So Dan, I would set this over to you now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Here we go.
So yes, well, firstly, good morning, everyone. Thank you to Norsk for giving me the opportunity to talk to you all. I hope you find this session useful. Secondly, I want to let you know that the slide deck that you will see today, it will be shared with Norsk. So if you might want to take notes, but yeah, you will get the slide deck afterwards so that you can look through it at your leisure. My name is Dan Faulkner. I've been at Motorola now for nearly 10 years. I'm a radio guy originally, but over the past sort of 4 or 5 years, I've been working on the broadband side, and to what is now, I'm now looking after the Wave PTX solution for EMEA. So I have a good appreciation for the radio business, and also a great, hopefully, insight and appreciation for what the possibilities are as we move into the broadband world. So next slide, please, Yannick. Today I'll firstly kind of go through a brief introduction about what Wave PTX is. I will then talk through some of the features and benefits of using a broadband solution compared with an LMR solution. Then we will go through the key components of the Wave PTX offer, which will include the devices, as well as the core features and capabilities. Then we'll have a quick wrap-up summary, followed by a Q&A. And I want to make sure we leave enough time for some Q&A, just because there generally has been questions following these types of sessions. So flick one more slide, please, Yannick. So as a brief introduction, what is Wave PTX? So Motorola took the opportunity a number of years ago to put our push-to-talk engine, our Wave PTX engine, into the cloud. So we've installed the push-to-talk service into the Microsoft Azure cloud. We have a primary site in Ireland, with a geo-redundant site in the Netherlands, and that instance in Microsoft Azure provides us with EU coverage, available for all of our customers and partners to utilize. By putting it into the Microsoft Azure cloud, we offer a network-independent broadband push-to-talk solution. What does that mean? That means that, you know, largely you have your own broadband connectivity, whether that's Wi-Fi, whether that's, you know, an LTE on a particular SIM card, whether, you know, irrespective of what SIM card you have, you will be able to connect into the Wave PTX service, and with an active subscription, push to talk and communicate with your colleagues. Additionally, the service has an LMR interop story, so a radio interoperability story. This means that if you have existing on-site radio systems, and you know we know the advantages of on-site radio systems, then you can very easily extend into that system with a broadband push-to-talk service. So that does mean that you can suddenly be away from the job sites, but be able to communicate with your colleagues using your iPhone, using your Android phone, using a dispatcher. So it kind of extending communications to a wider audience. And ultimately, this helps businesses work more efficiently and more effectively, using tools that are already in the hand, as well as maybe making available new tools, new devices that weren't possible before. So eliminating the barriers between devices, networks and locations, you know, allowing everybody to communicate effectively. Next slide. So Wave PTX, you know, supports BYOD. So you can bring your own device. You can download the application from either the Apple Store, the Apple App Store, or the Google Play Market. It's a free download, and then obviously you would need an active subscription to be able to utilize the service. But it is as simple as download the application, type in an activation code, and then that will connect to the cloud service, and all of the features and the talk groups and the configuration is done by the partner in the cloud, and is very simple to navigate. So this means that, you know, you can push a talk from, you know, a smartphone that you already have, a tablet, you know, or a desktop computer. We can utilize all available networks, including sort of Wi-Fi, and you know, it truly allow you to use your own device and use the mobile app. As well as supporting BYOD, we also have additional specialist devices that provide additional functionality. So, you know, I'll talk through there's a couple of slides later about our excuse me, our Wave TLK devices, but we have a TLK 100 portable radio device, as well as a TLK 150 mobile device for in a vehicle, and these are dedicated LTE radio devices that operate on the mobile networks. So the look and feel of a traditional two-way radio, but operating over the mobile networks. Additionally, we have a smartphone device called the Motorola Lex 11. And the Lex 11 device is a ruggedized smartphone, but it also has key hardware features, such as the hardware push-to-talk button, emergency button, and talk group selector. So if you need the flexibility of an Android-based device, but you need the functionality of a smartphone device, then maybe the Lex 11 might be useful and an option to you. Next slide. So really, you know, one of the key stories for Wave PTX is the fact that it is very easy to use. If you are a push-to-talk user already, then moving to or blending Wave PTX in with your existing communication solution is very simple and straightforward. It's a push-to-talk solution. We use talk groups. You'll be very familiar with sort of the language and the functionality there. The difference really is, as this is cloud-based, all configuration is done in the cloud and over the air. So we don't need to recall devices for firmware updates or for configuration changes. We can simply tick the feature in the portal, and then that will flow through to your devices. So if you needed additional talk groups or you needed contact lists to be updated, then that can be done, pretty much in real time. With it being a subscription service, obviously it allows you to grow as your system grows. Excuse me. So if you wanted to start off with a handful of licenses, and then as your business grows, you need to add additional licenses, you can do that, and you're paying for what you need as you go. The radio integration capabilities mean that you can extend in seamlessly, and I don't really need to talk to you about the advantage of push to talk, but really, push to talk as a fundamental advantage, does provide you with that single button ability to communicate with up to thousands of colleagues instantaneously. Next slide. So Wave will allow us, to supply a communication solution to multiple users. We, on the left-hand side here, we have, a front office user, maybe a reception at a hotel. Their day-to-day job, they have a tablet in their hand. So rather than having a tablet and a radio device on the desk, then potentially that user could have a tablet that's running, the hotel admin app as well as the Wave PTX app, and then they can communicate effectively from a single device. The same for the user in the field. We have couriers, we have delivery drivers that are scanning parcels, or tracking consignments with their smartphone. That could be BYOD if you look at it from an Amazon perspective. It could be a dedicated device if you look at kind of maybe, I know in the UK, kind of our Royal Mail Postal Service. But either way now, there's nothing stopping that user using that device as their push-to-talk solution as well. As you move to the job site, typically this is where the user would have a radio device in hand because they need that ruggedness, a droppable device that's going to stand up to the harsh environment. And this is where our specialist devices may well come in. So that could be the Lex 11, that could be the TLK devices where you need that additional ruggedness and reliability in that key situation. and also we have an opportunity to expand into our dispatch users. We've seen already there are particular users where there might be a couple of hundred people whose their day-to-day role is communicating via a desktop PC, and so giving them the push-to-talk capabilities via their Windows PC is a huge advantage and means that they are a part of the conversation and a part of that instantaneous talk group ability. Next slide. So now we're going to talk about the key elements of the solution. We can go one more slide. And really this slide captures everything that Wave PTX is about. So on the left-hand side, you can see that we have the Wave PTX mobile app. So again, this is available on Android and iOS. I think we support at the moment iOS 11 and up. We support Android version 5 and up. It's a free download. You then need an active subscription to then utilize the application. This provides you with key functionality, the ability to from a voice perspective, a multimedia perspective. It provides you with all the features that you would expect from a push-to-talk application. As we move into the center, you can see the Wave PTX dispatch application. This is a thin client, so it's for a Windows-based machine. It uses Google Chrome or Internet Explorer. You provision via the portal, so Noracom would provision it. You would receive an email that says, click this link, set your password, click here to log in. You would then log in and you'll be able to push the talk and communicate from your PC. And on the right-hand side, we have the dedicated hardware devices, the Wave PTX TLK devices. A bit more information and a few more slides. But these devices, again, simple to use, rugged in their form factor, and these are supplied with an EU-wide SIM card. So you can actually, get this device delivered and then take it away with you throughout Europe, and you'll still be able to connect via the multi-network roaming SIM and communicate with your colleagues if need be. So now I think that these next few slides, we're going to go into a bit more detail as to what each of the key components is. So if we go to the next slide, we'll talk a little bit more about turning your phone into a push-to-talk handset. So one more slide. So as I said before, this is the core functionality of the PTX application. So the basic level subscription will provide you with the ability to have push-to-talk communications. So private calling, group calling, quick calling, ad hoc group calling, all of that is available. When you push to talk, you can see the incoming ID of the user. You can see the group name, as you would do on a traditional radio system. As well as voice messaging, we have text messaging capabilities. So the ability to send and receive private messages and group messages, as well as the ability to add multimedia to that as well. So sending photos, sending short videos, attaching files, all very possible to share with your colleagues, whether they're private or group messages. We support location services. So if you decide to share the GPS position of your device with the application, then that will and can be configured to share that with your colleagues. So the dispatcher will see the icons on the map, or even the smartphone can see the icons on the map, so that you can see the location of your colleagues. The real-time presence notification. This allows for, you can see if users are offline, you can see if users are online, and you can see if users are in a do not disturb state. And when you choose to be in do not disturb, then your notifications are minimized and you can't be contacted. But everybody has visibility that you are in that state. We also have voice message fallback. Voice message fallback is a push-to-talk voicemail. So if I can see a user is temporarily unavailable, I can still hit the PTT button. I can still, but I get a visual indication that it's not going through as a live call. It's being recorded as a push-to-talk voice message fallback, and then that will appear in the target user's inbox. They will get a notification, and then they can go in, play that message back, and then reply accordingly. But it is a very simple to navigate application. You can see on the screenshots on the right-hand side, it's in a tabular view. So you've got your full history. You've got the ability to, you can star contacts as favorites. Then you can see private call, a contact list, so as you would do in your phone book, I guess, group calls, and then the mapping tab as well. But it's a very simple to use. The messaging is a threaded view, so very intuitive and what you would expect from a mobile application. So the next slide, we will talk about the dispatch application. So as I said before, this is a PC-based dispatch application that is available for Windows machines, supporting Google Chrome and Internet Explorer as well. If you go to the next slide. It provides a secure internet sort of connection. So again, as well as the mobile app and the TLK, all of the authentication is done in the portal side. So you have to have a subscription created, and then you allocate a user to that subscription. If that account becomes compromised, you can disable that via the portal. So it's completely in the control of yourselves and your trusted partner at Norkom. Once you are connected, all of the contact lists that you see, all of the talk groups that you see, all of the features that you see are all configurable in the actual portal itself. So, the dispatcher, for instance, can support receiving incoming emergency notifications. It can support incoming video streaming, live video streaming. So there's a number of things that you can do, and all of that is configured via the Wave portal. One thing that is attractive, especially in kind of corporate networks, is there's no need for software as such to be installed. There is a small browser plugin for Google Chrome and for Internet Explorer, but there's no installation of software as such. And whilst you are connected, whilst you have an active subscription, you have access to all updates that are provided for the application. And we've already seen, in the time since launch, that there have been multiple smartphone updates, multiple dispatch updates, and multiple TLK updates, providing advanced functionality, which again, the safeguard functionality I'll talk about a little bit later. But you get that as part of the active subscription. You'll get access to versions, software updates. So I mentioned just now a little bit about video streaming. So if you go to the next slide, please. And one more slide. So we launched a new feature back in June now for video streaming. So this is an add-on. So you buy your Wave mobile app subscription, and then you will also need to buy the video streaming add-on. But this then supports two forms of video streaming. So we have push video, which is a video streaming session which is initiated by the smartphone user, and we have a pull video session, which is a video streaming session initiated by the dispatcher. Both of them very valuable. Both of them completely configurable by the account administrator, and this allows video that is streamed. The video can be streamed to individuals. It can be streamed to groups, talk groups, or even kind of ad hoc groups if you want to send your video session to to a specific new group. And dispatchers have the ability to simultaneously stream multiple sessions, as well as being able to hear the video and the audio as well from those sessions. So if we go into a little bit more detail on the next slide about push video. So push video is, as I say, initiated by the mobile app. You can see on the push to talk button, there is to the left hand side there is a video icon. You click the video icon, and then the receiving device or devices will click to accept, and then they will see the video that you are streaming. They can see the incoming ID. As a transmitter, I will be sending video and audio, and then if you want to talk back to me, you can move the video to one side by swiping it to the side, and then you can hit the PTT button and talk back to me if need be. And dispatchers have the same functionality, but they have the ability to kind of view multiple video streams simultaneously, and then they can just choose which video stream they want to use, and then they can push to talk and reply back. On the next slide, we go to pull video, and I must stress that this is kind of completely configurable by admin, but what this would or could allow you to do is you could configure the system so that you could turn on the target user's video without them knowing and without them accepting if you wanted to, and that would be an unconfirmed pull. You can configure it so that it can be a confirmed pull, which is when a polite request is sent to the target and they then have to accept that they are going to share that. So it's completely configurable. You would need to kind of there's local legislation that we have to accommodate throughout Europe. There's local company legislation, if there are unions involved or what have you, that might decide whether or not you can utilize that feature. But again, from a dispatch perspective, you can monitor multiple active video streams and communicate effectively. So really, we kind of talk about how the ability to speak about an event adds so much context to the conversation and to the incident, but the ability to share video is sometimes even better than that. It might be that you're having to show your colleagues a particular problem with a I don't know, heating system, or with a fire door, or you want to show a video of vandalism or damage, that can be done via a video session as opposed to photos and filling out a report that way. So yeah, there are multiple use cases. Next slide, please. So now we'll talk a little bit more about the dedicated devices. One more slide, and we start with a general kind of overview. But this is here. You can see the TLK100 and the TLK150. Very much these users, or the users of these, are if you don't want the user to have a smartphone in their hand, it might be that you don't want them to have access to WhatsApp and FaceTime and Angry Birds or whatever it might be. They might need a dedicated task tool in their hand to get the job done. They might be an existing radio user, but you need to expand to provide them with greater coverage capabilities. And this is where kind of having an easy to use device, simple push to talk, that's built for the job, might be attractive for you. As well as being simple to use, it's simple to manage. Not disrespecting the radio world, but here we don't attach via USB cables. You can configure the buttons on the devices. It's all done via the cloud over the LTE network. Firmware updates, all done via the cloud over the LTE network. So as well as being easy to use, it's very easy to manage as well. And we can supply this over the EU. We have a multi-network EU-wide roaming plan. So in each country, there are multiple networks that we have the ability to take advantage of. We support the EU +2, the 2 being Norway and Switzerland. And I've no doubt, I am from the UK, it will be the EU +3 at one time. But yeah, this provides you with the ability to take advantage of the service throughout Europe. Next slide, please. So I mentioned before, EU-wide capabilities. This then allows you to track your users throughout Europe and communicate with them. We have automatic roaming between the LTE networks, as you would expect from a mobile phone device. We also have enhanced intelligent switching, which allows and manages the movement of the device from the LTE networks to the Wi-Fi networks, ensuring that handover is seamless and downtime is minimized. So yeah, so being able to infill local sites with Wi-Fi, will add to the resilience story, and the fact that you have LTE capabilities, and if there is no LTE coverage, no mobile phone coverage, the device will connect to the Wi-Fi that you've configured and be able to push the talk back to the colleagues. So very simple, and again, all of the Wi-Fi SSIDs and passwords are configured via the cloud, and we support enterprise level Wi-Fi capabilities now with certificate exchanging, etc., etc. Next slide. So the devices here, it's not to underestimate the value of having a dedicated task tool in hand. Some of you as customers will already appreciate the benefits of having that dedicated tool in your staff's hands, and it's the same advantages when moving to Wave PTX. It's all about the built tough device, IP54 rated. These are, they go through accelerated life testing tests, which means that that they are built to a standard that will endure, the harsh environment sometimes that the customers and that they are put through in the real world. We support obviously location tracking via GPS. We have Wi-Fi capabilities, and we have now a number of audio accessories available. So we have wired earpieces, wireless Bluetooth earpieces. We have wireless remote speaker microphones. We have accessories that will help you install into vehicles as well. So yeah, it's a very sort of comprehensive solution that we can provide to meet your customer needs. Next slide. So as well as being able to initially configure the devices, we have made it easier to configure fleets of devices. So if you might be an organization that you come to the Christmas period and you suddenly need an additional talk group, then this would be a simple phone call into Noracom to say, I need an additional talk group, and then guess what? All of your devices would see the additional talk group within a matter of seconds. It is simply create the talk group and then drag and drop users into that talk group, and then they appear on the device. If you want to change device names because of staff changes or because of whatever it might be, again, it's all done via the portal. Adding, changing Wi-Fi credentials, disabling devices, deactivating subscriptions, it's all in full control via the cloud portal, and that's something that obviously can be managed with your Platinum partner. Next slide. And one more slide. So yeah, one of the slides that I haven't shown on there, and I'll include it in the before I move on onto this, is regarding the TLK 150. The TLK 150 is the mobile version. If you just want to go back a couple of slides so we can see the TLK 150, that one there. So this is a new device that we launched in June, ideal for the vehicle and sort of transport and logistics market. If you've got hauliers or couriers that need to kind of span the Nordic region or span Europe and go further afield, then this device can be installed in the vehicle. You can see from the screen grab there, or the picture there, that it has a dedicated orange emergency button. You can change volume. You can do everything you would expect on a radio device. But obviously, this has a multi-network roaming SIM, providing that expanded coverage. So again, the mobile and the portable are available. Next slides. So what I'm going to talk about now is the advanced feature set. So we launched a safeguard feature set in June, and this brings additional functionality above and beyond the basic PTX functionality that I spoke about at the beginning of this slide deck. So one of the big things that Safeguard introduces is radio interoperability. So what that means is that you can install a radio gateway onto your Motorola radio system, and then you can provide interoperability between the radio talk group and the Wave devices, so that the Wave devices can make private calls to the radio system. The radio system can make private calls and group calls to the Wave side. So again, providing communications or the ability for new users to communicate with the system, allowing to reach more team members and provide a more efficient communications solution using the devices that they've already got in their hand. Next slide. So the additional features that Wave PTX brings. So the Safeguard feature subscription includes emergency calling. So again, on the right hand side here, you can see the screenshot of there's a red button, and you simply press and hold that red button on the screen, and then it allows you to swipe across to declare. And then that will initiate an emergency that would be seen by all of the members on that talk group. So it could be, whether you've got a mobile app, whether you've got a TLK device, whether you've got a dispatcher, you'll be able to see that incoming emergency. Equally, you can use the orange button on the TLK 150, or you can configure the side button on the TLK 100 to trigger that emergency, and then that will be seen by all users. So this is available for the mobile app as well as the TLK devices. We also have a feature called Remote User Check. What this allows you to do is you can, from the dispatcher, check the status of, of that device. So that will mean you can check the battery life, you can check the signal strength, you can get a latest kind of GPS location, and just generally check the health of that device to make sure that everything is as you would expect. We also support ambient listening and discrete listening. So ambient listening, again, we need to be mindful about local legislation and regulations, you know, and that's at a country level as well as at a corporate level. But you can, with configuration, you could configure your system so that you could listen to a smartphone's ambient. You can turn the microphone on a target device and listen to the room's audio without that user knowing, if need be. Okay, it's a feature that we have on radio. It's a feature that we brought across on smartphones. Whether it's deployed or not is completely configurable. You can configure it out, you can configure it in. The same for discrete listening, subtly different in the fact that what discrete listening is, it means that I can listen to the conversation of the target radio. So their push-to-talk conversation I will be listening into, and again, it might be useful from a business perspective, but you would need to check that, you know, from a regulatory perspective, you are okay to deploy that feature. One cool feature that we've added now is location-based talk groups. What that allows you to do is you can draw a circle on the map, and then as your users enter that circle, they will become a member of the location-based talk group. So this might be perfect for an event. You might have a temporary incident that's happened, and you've got multiple users coming from all over the region, and as they come in, they are automatically a member of the temporary talk group, and then obviously once they leave the talk group, or once you tear down that talk group, they all leave that talk group as well. So location-based talk groups. At one point as well, location-based talk groups can be static and they're fixed to a location, or they can be dynamic where they're associated with a person. So then if you have a location-based talk group to me, as I walk around the country, I will have a 1 mile talk group bubble or a half mile talk group bubble that follows me around. So we have had one deployment where that's used. The security manager has a location-based talk group associated with them, and when they visit the store, then obviously they can communicate with the store, and then when they move and they go to the next store, they have that location-based talk group with that store as well. So it's quite a useful feature. And I mentioned before about LMR interoperability. You know, Safeguard is required if you need interoperability with your existing system. And I think we've got one more slide afterwards to show kind of what the features are. Next slide. I've put this slide in here just to give you a little bit more context for when you take this away with you. So I have spoken about all of these. I'm just checking that we've not missed anything here, but I've covered all of these, so we can skip to the next slide, please. So this is how we connect PTX to the radio system. You can see just to the left of the cloud that you see there is a Wave gateway. This can come in multiple forms depending on what type of radio system you have got, but ultimately this is an appliance, a gateway solution that first of all connects to the local radio system. So it will connect to the repeater infrastructure of the radio system, and then as well it will connect to the Wave PTX cloud. What that then allows you to do is to map communications. You know, you can have interoperability talk groups that when you drag and drop a Wave user into that talk group, then suddenly they can talk to the Motor Turbo radio system and vice versa. At the moment, features-wise, we support group calls, private calls. We support the transmitting of the caller ID alias and the group alias. And the single gateway can handle 10 simultaneous, minimum 10 simultaneous talk groups between the Wave world and the radio world. We have options to scale up to 200 simultaneous talk groups if need be. Today, we support Motor Turbo IP Site Connect, Motor Turbo Capacity Plus and Capacity Max. as well as Diametro Express. So any of those systems that you have, we can provide Wave PTX integration in there, no problem at all. The next slide, I've just shown a quick example of kind of what this might look like. So on the right hand side, you have your traditional radio system. This is a single repeater IP site connect system. So it'd be a motor turbo repeater. On that site, you would install the Wave radio gateway, and it will be connected via IP to that device. As well as being connected via IP to that device, it's connected to the cloud. And then when Noracom go into their account, they'll be able to configure that gateway, configure the talk groups, and then drag and drop the Wave users into those interrupt talk groups to make sure that the different devices have that push-to-talk interrupt functionality. So that means then that your dispatchers can talk to your Wave PTX dispatch, can talk to the devices, the mobile apps, as well as the TLK devices, should you wish to take any of those on board. We also have a feature called Wave PTX Motor Turbo Backup. For those users out there that have got Motor Turbo DP4000 E series radios, so they're the ones that are Wi-Fi capable, you can actually put the Wave PTX client directly into that device. What that then means is that your radio device, when you are on site, will talk in UHF or VHF on the radio system. But it could be configured so that when you take that device home or you take it to another site where there's no RF coverage, it could connect via Wi-Fi, your home Wi-Fi, for instance, which will connect to the Wave PTX cloud service, which will connect to your radio system, so that you can then still have communications with your colleagues, but you could be in a different part of the world if need be. So it's another kind of way that we can provide that communication ability over a broadband network. So that's it from a technical perspective, or from a features overview perspective. The next slide I'm going to talk about is regarding the subscription options. So all of this is driven by annual subscriptions. So obviously, if you want to use the TLK device, then you'll have to buy the hardware device first, and then you would need an annual subscription to utilize the service. If you go to the next slide. There are three buckets in essence. We have the subscriptions for the Wave PTX mobile app, and as I've explained in the slides, you have the basic level subscription, which is slightly cheaper, and you have the safeguard level subscription, which is slightly more expensive and it has more features. The same for the dispatch. You have the basic dispatch and you have the safeguard dispatch. And the same for the TLK devices. You have the basic TLK subscription as well as the safeguard TLK subscription. And those subscription prices include the data required for the year. So you have no worries about data, etc. There are some additional subscriptions that we've added now, which are for video streaming, for instance. So the ability to add video streaming to a mobile app, or you can add video streaming to a dispatcher, as well as the Motor Turbo PTT backup. So the ability that a subscription required to add Wave capabilities to a Motor Turbo device. But this slide deck shows kind of the difference in features. And there are, at the moment, there is a 12-month subscription option, but we are including, we'll soon be launching 24-month, 36, 48 and 60-month subscriptions, as well as we're looking to be next year looking at offering a part-month subscription, a part-year subscription, should I say. But at the moment, it's a 12-month subscription option. Next slide. So as a quick summary, if you go to the next slide, Yannick. Again, PTX is available now. Noracom, as a platinum partner, are very familiar with broadband push-to-talk and with Wave. Talk to those guys. They know, the differences between sort of an LMR system and a broadband system. As I said at the beginning, I'm a radio guy, So there are certain situations where radio is the solution, but broadband push to talk is here. Broadband push to talk does have advantages, and on a per user basis now, you can have certain users that are connecting via broadband. You can have critical users or more critical users that are connecting via the LMR system. So really having that blended solution has never been more achievable. Wave PTX, as it's subscription driven, you haven't got that upfront capex investment that's needed. It's onto a yearly subscription plan, and you have the ability to move those subscriptions if need be. So if Dan Faulkner is allocated a mobile app subscription and I leave the company, then you can just take that subscription and allocate it to my replacement. Very easy to do, very easy to manage. And what this does do is leverage your existing investments. You as organizations will have invested heavily in IT already, so you're going to have the PC hardware already in place, the Wi-Fi networks in place, as well as having smartphones deployed throughout your organization. So Wave can utilize that and really bring those into your on-site LMR systems and provide that sort of cohesive push-to-talk offer. So really, that's it from my side. I think the next slide is to Q&A. Hopefully, you've enjoyed the session. I'm happy to take any questions. You are going to have to put them in English though, Yannick, because otherwise my answers aren't going to be very useful.
I think that's totally fine. We actually have a question here about the subscription. We have a question about is it possible to have it monthly or quarterly instead of an annual subscription?
So at the moment, and it's work in progress. We've received it's one of the first piece of feedback we received. So we as an organisation haven't got that ability yet. But what we are looking to do is improve the billing system at Motorola, which will then allow us to provide a monthly billing option to you guys, to the customers. At the moment, so the short answer is at the moment it's no. We have a 12-month subscription. There might be additional services that Noracom, I don't want to speak out of turn, but there might be additional services that Noracom, if they have a fleet of devices, that they could then take the annual subscription and provide a part year's offer as a managed service. Maybe that might be an option, but I hope the middle of next year we will have a monthly or at least a part year subscription offer for Wave PTX.
What I can answer from that question is that we in Noracom can of course to provide, say, a leasing solution or a down payment solution. That's no issue at all. So if you want to buy a big package, you have a number of radios or a bigger fleet, we can definitely sort out a leasing plan if that's the question there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there another question?
Yeah, we have something about security. How is it kind of provided, and when it comes to official and open network?
Okay, so there's multiple layers of security. Great question. That's one I missed out. So as standard, all voice and data that is sent over the network, so from app to server, server to app, dispatch to server, dispatch to app, TLKs, everything is encrypted to a level AES 256. So we have that level as a basic offer. We can also provide encryption via the gateway into the Motor Turbo system. So if your Motor Turbo system can support up to AES 256 as well, which then means that it's not end-to-end, because in the gateway there is a decrypt, re-encrypt process. But you can have Motor Turbo devices AES 256 as well as your Wave devices 256. On top of that, we have security layer at a device or a subscription level. So as I said at the beginning, the only way that the app can work is by generating an activation code. And at any point in time, you can generate a new code, which would mean the app falls off the system. So at an admin level, you have the ability to control what devices are on and what subscriptions are on and off. And then all of the traffic that is transmitted over that network is encrypted as well. And the final piece is, obviously, from an infrastructure perspective, the architectural design is based on Microsoft Azure, which is a FIPS level 3 security layer architecture. So we have security covered at multiple levels, and we do have for those of you that maybe want to double click on that, we do have a white paper available on security that I'm more than happy to share with Noracom to pass on to you guys as well.
Good. We also have a question about the subscription when it comes to SIM cards, and do the customer themselves have to provide anything, or how does that work?
No, so for the TLK devices, they are supplied with an embedded SIM. So you don't have to do anything. You turn the device on, it will connect to the network, and it will work. Okay, so that's the TLK devices. From the Wave, the smartphone devices, that we're supporting BYOD and BYON. So bring your own device and bring your own network. So in the smartphone world, you will be using your own SIM card. For the smartphone app, generally we ask customers to budget for around about 500 to 750 megabytes of usage per month. Broad brush that is, guys, because obviously the more video content or video streaming you're sending, or the more mapping you're using, is going to use more data. But a general usage using a normal usage kind of pattern between 500 and 750 megabytes per month. So if you're buying a TLK, we've got that covered. If you're BYOD, then you will be responsible for your own networks. Yeah,
and I would also say that on bring your own device, it's also depending on the coverage of your provider as well. And the plus side of the TLK devices in Norway especially is that it roams between Telenor and Telia, which is 2 providers. So if you would have bad connection on one side, it would roam over to the other.
Yeah.
We also have a question about battery change, actually. How does that work on the TLK devices?
Well, yeah, the TLK device has a removable battery. Someone's probably gonna ask me for. I think it's. I don't know the milliamp. I haven't got the brochure in front of me, but I know on the presentation we're looking at about an 18-hour talk time or 18-hour standby time on the TLK device. At Motorola, we always look for a full shift battery, so minimum 8 hours. This far exceeds that. You can buy spare batteries, you can buy single chargers, you can buy multi-charger positions so that you can have batteries on charge whilst your devices are in the field. So that radio type usage functionality can be deployed with the TLK devices.
Yeah, good. That's all the questions so far.
Good. Well, for those of you that have listened to me before, if anyone has, it's very unusual for me to finish on time. So that's got to be good. But
yeah, it is.
But no, but, thank you, guys. Any questions that you have fire them into Noracom, and I'll certainly reply back. No problem at all. Over to you, Yannick.
Yeah, thank you. As Dan said, I'll bring this back to Norwegian now. Som sagt, hvis det noen spørsmål etter webinaret eller noen andre ting dere ønsker ta opp, så må dere gjerne rette det til din kontakt i Noracom dersom du allerede eksisterende kunde, eller så må du gjerne alternativt sende av gårde en e-post til webinar@noracom, så svarer mer enn gjerne på spørsmål du måtte ha. Og til dere som har vært med i dag, tusen hjertelig takk. Og husk å følge med på hjemmesider for neste webinar, som vil handle om litt mer personlig sikkerhet, og hvordan vi kan hjelpe dere til å trekke for eksempel utstyr eller personer og den type ting som også integrert i radiosystemet. Og med det så ønsker jeg dere en hjertelig fin fredag og god helg når dere måtte komme. Og igjen, tusen takk for at dere ble med, og ha det bra.